The Caribbean is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. A titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. We call it Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry, men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in Jamaica, the region, and indeed, the world. Hi there. Welcome to this, our 8th episode of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. I'm Marlene Stevenson-Daly. My guest has over 25 years' experience in the hospitality business. She's held various management positions and is currently the Group Director of Marketing and Sales for the Courtleigh Hospitality Group. And that includes the Courtleigh Hotel and Suites, the Courtleigh Corporate Group, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, and the Holiday Inn Resort in Montego Bay, which is all-inclusive. I'm delighted to have her join us today. She's Nicola Madden Greig. Miss Nicola, how you do?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. And I have a number of questions that I want to ask you today. But I wanted to start with, where have you been for 25 years? Because you just look a little bit beyond the 25 years. So where were these 25 years spent?
Okay, let me see if I can pack it out for you. So I started in the industry coming straight out of university. I worked at Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines in Florida for a year before returning home to Jamaica, where I started at the Half Moon Resort in Montego Bay. So that was my first foray back into hospitality. But I had worked part-time with Air Jamaica when I was in school in Jamaica before going away. So I really started my career in the airline business and then went to cruise and then went to the hotel sector.
All right. So you've had a little taste of different subsectors, which is great.
Yes, it gives you a different perspective.
Yes.
So I was at Half Moon for 3 years, and then I came to Kingston, to the Jamaica Pegasus, and then from there on to the Courtleigh Hotel and Suites, where we growed from a small 127 single property establishment into what we are today. So we added, of course, the Knutsford Court Hotel. We added the Ruins at the Falls, which we have since sold, and as well as the Knutsford. We added the Holiday Inn Resort in Montego Bay, and then we added Jamaica Pegasus. And last but not least, and due to be open next year, what was the former Hilton or Wyndham next door to us, 300 rooms, planning to bring back that into the market for 2023.
Wow, that one is a big one. I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
I missed that property. But you mentioned Half Moon, which means you have some connection with Montego Bay. Tell us a little bit about that. Where were you born? Are you from that end of the island?
No, I'm actually a Kingstonian, but I was very interested when I came back from FIU. So I went to school overseas at Florida International University, did my first degree there. And I was looking to really involve myself in the hospitality industry. So I applied across the island, and I remember I sent in my resume on a Sunday, and on a Tuesday I got a call from Richard Whitfield and said, can I come for an interview the following Sunday? And I said, okay, sure. Took the plane down.
At the time it was what? Trans-Jamaica?
Yes.
Okay.
Went in for the interview, and the rest is history. I think by the Tuesday I had my offer letter in hand, and a couple of weeks later I was at Half Moon.
All right. And you spent all of 3 years.
3 years there. Had a great time. A lot of people I've met, I still are very dear to me. Godfrey Dye was one of the stalwarts at the time. He was president of the JHTA when I just went to Montego Bay. Joseph Forsma, of course, Heinz Simonich, the legend. Yes. Myrtle Dwyer. So many. Fred Smith, the list goes on. Noel Slowly, Bert Wright. I mean, they were all in the business, and I was a young person coming in, just out of university. And I really found a home in Montego Bay. Actually, at one point, when I first landed, everybody said to me, oh, you're from Kingston. And I said, well, how do you know that? And they said, your accent.
Yes.
I didn't know as a Kingstonian that I had an accent, but apparently I did.
That's because the Montegonians have their own accent.
Which I didn't realize. I think in Kingston, you have such a mix of people from all over the island. You don't discern the different unique accents that are there. And I became very much a part of the Montego Bay nightlife, got involved with Montego Bay Little Theatre movement under Diane Gervin. And
Diane taught me.
Yes.
In prep school.
And, just really enjoyed my time there. So it was good experience, made a lot of friends.
Wonderful. Now, it wasn't difficult for you to get into the industry because you had your training and you had some experience in different areas. But what did you do before coming into the industry?
Well, I was just finishing up university, so I worked part-time. Prior to that, high school students. So
it's just all hospitality.
All hospitality. I never worked in any other industry.
Wow. Okay. Now, I want you to tell me a little bit about your time at the Convent of Mercy Academy, Alpha, because I know that they're very, very, what's the word I want to use to describe Alpha? A very pivotal institution in the lives of many young ladies, and there's a certain aura. There's a certain something about it. If you've been to Alpha, you can't really touch it. It's not tangible. But things like their principled leadership,
yes,
core value, and so how has that
very much a pivotal foundation in my life?
Yes.
I went to Alpha at the time when the legendary Sister Mary Bernadette was our headmistress, and the whole atmosphere at Alpha is one of discipline, one of self-sacrifice, one of giving back to community.
Yes.
So you found as a student, you were involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, leadership and development was core. So I found my experience there being an all-girls school too, less distractions. So you focus on yourself and on core development and values. So I think that's something Alpha is unique in. It also was a great way to interact with people of all walks of life. And some high schools don't give you that experience. So, I lived uptown, but I was interacting with people from, as I said, all walks of life, and you get a broader perspective. You have a much more, I think, rich experience from that. And you appreciate just friendships that you made along the way. It wasn't about class or anything. It was about who you are as a person. And those friendships I still have today.
And I think when I think of the Convent of Mercy, I think of the word compassion.
Yes, definitely.
You have empathy as you treat with people from all walks of life.
Correct. And as I said, it's you learned the whole aspect of giving back and making sure that you are interested in nation building and development. And I think that has carried through my life. Also instilled in me by my father, who passed last year, Nicola Madden. But that give back and the ability to give of yourself and be proud of your nation and be proud of who you are. I remember at the time I was coming back from university. It was a time when Jamaica was in a little bit of upheaval, and literally every single friend of my parents said, don't let her come back to Jamaica. She's gone to FIU. She did well. Let her stay over there.
Yes.
Very few of my friends came back. I was one of the few who came back home. And I came back because I said to myself, well, if everybody leaves Jamaica, who's going to be here to continue to build this great place? So I have a passion for my country, and I think it's important that you invest in it and not just curse it out, as sometimes we do. We do have our challenges, yes, but we have to really spend the time and energy to make it better.
Tell me a little bit about your dad and your family background in terms of siblings and.
So I'm the youngest. We're a close-knit family. I'm the youngest. My parents, my mom is still alive. I have an older sister and brother. My sister also went to Alpha. My brother went to St. George's College. So Catholic family.
Yes.
Very, very much brought up in the church. And my parents were both on the choir, very good singers. My dad was an excellent singer. He was one of the early persons that had a band, the Virtues, and so a lot of the old school, Byron Lee and this one. There are various persons who either sang in his band or came up with his band, and he abandoned his band very young because he was a young father, and my mom said enough of the traveling. But he actually was with Hannah's Group of Company, which was a large company, and he is part of why I think why I have that background in terms of human resource management, because he was their group personal manager.
Okay.
And so a lot of how to deal with people and how to develop people I learned through him. And eventually they became entrepreneurs in their own right and had many businesses in the furniture business, in the retail business, before they retired.
So can you sing?
I can sing. I was on the choir at
All
school.
right.
I will not sing now. But I'm not as talented as my parents, but I do have some talent in singing.
You can hold a note.
I can hold a note.
What does it mean to be enrolled in the Phi Kappa Phi Honors Society? As I noticed, you were when you were at school overseas.
Yeah, so the Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society is the top 5% of all university students across the United States of America. You qualify to be invited to be enrolled. So that was a big accomplishment for me. I graduated at the top of my class with honors, and so it was, something that was well worth the effort, because you had to put in the effort to get the good grades. But
that's quite an accomplishment,
yes.
Nicola. How would your friends describe you?
Private, fun, a little crazy, talkative at times, very determined, to the point of, some would say stubborn, but I don't look at it as a negative thing. I'm very determined, persistent, disciplined, hardworking to a fault. But I like to have fun. I'm into dancing. I used to act. I'm into drama. I enjoy the adventure, the outdoors. So I think I'm well balanced in my life.
Okay, because the question I was going to ask you is, when you're not working, because I know you work all the time. You are a hard worker and a smart worker too. So what do you do when you're not working? Where would I find you? What would you be doing?
Usually on the weekends up in the hills. I love going up into the Blue Mountains. I love hiking. I like the outdoors, enjoying nature. I also like gastronomy. That's something that you'll find me going out to restaurants. And I like adventure. So anything. I like to travel. So that's something that you'll find me doing. But also just enjoying family and friends. I'm really have a good tight-knit family. My brother and sister and all of my nieces, nephews, cousins, we hang out a lot together, and some of my closer friends going all the way back to prep school right up.
Wow. So does your love of the outdoors and hiking and all of that have anything to do with the Kingston City Run, which I believe you co-chair and founded?
Yes. So this came out of actually when I was at Pegasus, when I just came back to Kingston. I started at Pegasus as sales manager and I was promoted to director of marketing and sales. And they used to have the Carib Cement Marathon. And we used to host that event at Pegasus, and I thought, it's such an excellent thing for Kingston. And then, of course, it went away. And for years, I kept saying, we really need to bring back something like this. And, 5Ks were starting to pick up again. I'm not a runner, but I like the concept of the event. My husband is the runner, not me. And so at the time, I was chair of the JHTA Kingston chapter, and I thought, we really need to do this. And I spoke to a few people, and we tried to get somebody to take it on, and nobody would. And I finally got Chris Jarrett, who is now the chair of the Kingston chapter of JHTA, to come on with me as the co-chair. And we said, let's do it ourselves. Let's get this thing done. Because Kingston, as you know, over the years, we have struggled with, is this really a tourist destination?
Yes.
And I always knew in my heart that it is. It's a fantastic destination for tourists. Yes, we are not sun, sea, and sand, but the city tourism, urban tourism, culture, nature, the adventure side of things, the entertainment, all of that we have. And sports.
A wonderful plug for Kingston.
Yeah, sports is a big part of that. So that's where that was all birthed from, and successfully done for 8 years until COVID.
What are the plans for the future? Any?
Yeah, we are looking at possibly doing a small staging for next year. We will not go back to the full marathon, and then looking for 2024. I think it's important to reintroduce it and see. We may make some changes, but it's definitely a product that did very well for Kingston in terms of its reputation.
Yes, and bringing people in.
And bringing people in, and just the general perception. Thousands of people on the streets of Kingston, starting as early as 2 a.m. in the morning when we do the full marathon to start running at 4. So, it really was fantastic when we did it.
Quite a spectacle. All right, our special guest is Nicola Madden Greig on today's Tourism Titans. We're going to take a little break, but we'll be right back.
In tourism, the people are the product. Yes, they are one of our industry's most important assets. They help create memorable lifetime experiences. They, through their service, make the difference. We share the stories of their challenges and triumphs, of what makes them tick, of who they really are, just to inspire you to act positively. You too can be an ambassador for tourism and our country and become a Jamaican tourism titan. Start today.
TPDCO's Explore Jamaica has insights into licensed tourism entities across Jamaica. Visit the Google or Apple Play Store and download the app today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, my special guest is Nicola Madden Greig, and she was recently honored by Jamaica with one of the island's highest awards, the Order of Distinction Officer, for her contribution to the establishment of the Jamaica brand on the world tourism stage. In 2019, she also received the prestigious JHTA Presidents Award for her invaluable support to the association. And even before that, she had another President's Award in 2006 for her significant contribution again to the JHTA and to the marketing and promotion of Kingston in particular and Jamaica in general. And you heard her talk about the Kingston City Run, and hopefully we will have a smaller edition in the coming year, 2023. But Nicola, I want to talk a little bit about your new responsibility, because you have recently been, is it elected?
Yes,
Selected?
I'm
Elected.
actually 1 year in.
Right. Not so, it's usually a 2-3 year term?
It's a 2-year term, but I'm actually serving the year of the previous president plus my 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he resigned early.
So you have three years of this on your hand, and you're 1 year in. And that is the president of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. What has that been like for you?
Very exciting. I've always had a passion for the Caribbean and for regional tourism. Actually, on my bucket list, one of the things I say that I must visit every Caribbean destination before I kick the bucket, and I'm about halfway there, So I think part of it is just really recognizing, especially when I went away to school at Florida International University, I met so many Caribbean students, and I was on the West Indian Students Association, very involved in all the Caribbean students' activities. And that's really when my passion even got more deep, having all these different cultures and us comparing notes and so on. So then when I came to Half Moon, when I just started out, Heinz Simonich, which, is a former president of CHTA, very, very much involved and had passion and training. So the Caribbean Hotel and Training Institute was still open then. And so a lot of our training as I got to Half Moon was out of CHTA and that program. So I was kind of a student of CHTA from a very young age.
Yes.
I even became a Caribbean certified training professional through CHTA. So I always had a link to the organization and saw how much it did for young persons coming up and the kind of scholarships that they have offered over the years to various members of the tourism family. Young people like Omar Robinson is one of their scholarship recipients.
Wow.
So I got involved after being president of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association as a director on the board of CHTA.
And you did JHTA for
2014 to 2016, two-term president.
2 terms, all right.
And,
you go, girl.
And then as I got more involved with the association at the regional level and started to sit on committees and just become active, I ended up moving up into the position of a vice president, and out of that eventually to first VP and now president.
President. What would you consider perhaps the greatest challenge that you will have in this new role? Well, not so new, but what sort of...
Well, remember, I took over during COVID.
Yes, so that in and of itself.
So that was a challenge.
Yes.
I mean, I started actually unofficially around July because we were transitioning the current president, what had been promoted in his organization, and I was having challenges fulfilling the term. So I was kind of stepped into some of the roles there as a VP, first VP. And what was the good thing about all of that was happening is with COVID, as on the COVID task force here in Jamaica, so actively involved with that, lots of meetings. So it was good to be able to translate the learnings from what we were doing here and also get benchmark and learnings from the rest of the Caribbean. So COVID was really a big challenge, fighting for the region, getting us off of those lists because we kept getting all these travel advisories and different destinations were being put on the red light, green light, amber light, and then we had the testing regime, and so just a lot of work sharing across the region and making sure hotel associations were doing the best they could to keep staff and to share with it a lot of training and development. Going forward, coming out of COVID, I think the challenges that we're faced now is around a few things. Obviously, the labor market challenge is still a very real thing for the entire Caribbean, not just Jamaica. And so we have been working, we have our People Development Committee, which has been working on some new measures and working with training institutions across the region to see how we can fast track training and
that is
up
something that we must do
and continue to engage our young people that this is a viable industry. It's not just line level. You can have a career, you can go to the very top, you can be earning $6-figure US dollars salaries, which is very doable in this industry, and I don't think people understand the potential for growth and development within tourism. Right. We sometimes focus only on the front line, and nothing wrong with a frontline professional because that is also a great place to be, but you have scope for growth.
Yes.
And there's so much besides the hotel itself, but attractions,
and then there are the linkages,
suppliers to the industry.
Also
so
part of that.
So much focuses around tourism. So that is one element. Obviously, the climate crisis is something that is very real, and how we manage that going forward. We're doing a lot of work with that. We have worked with the Nature Conservancy, and we launched in June of this year at the WTCC Sustainable Summit in Puerto Rico our Coral Reef Restoration and Management Guide, and putting best practices, working with local hotel associations, private and public sector on the whole issue of making sure that we are moving in the right direction there. Sargassum is a threat, and how do we manage all of these various things? The other element that I set up, which was a new committee, which is a tourism task force on technology. This is critical for us to move forward. We saw a lot of technology being implemented during COVID, and that just...
We were forced.
Yes, that leapfrogged us ahead in terms of our development, and it's a recognition that there's so much more we could do. And you don't want our micro, small, and medium-sized tourism enterprises to be left behind, and some of them struggled. So it's sharing those best practices, looking at how we can help them in both resilience but also technology development so that they can have a better share of the tourism pie. So those are three main ones.
Right. And I believe all of those sort of filter into the business of sustainability.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Because we are seeing recovery, and we're actually past recovery into growth as a region. We are the fastest recovering region in the world, and we are already in growth over 2019.
Yes.
But we have to manage how we grow, make sure it's sustainable, ensure that we have all the right systems in place, because we can be too good for our own selves.
Yes.
And that will backfire. We saw before the pandemic what over-tourism was doing in certain places around the world. So we have to look at our carrying capacity, all these things.
Manage all of those technical details.
Yes, and really have a new vision for tourism that goes beyond just a job. Where I'm passionate about is how do we make generational wealth in tourism and create more entrepreneurs. There is, the accommodation and attraction sector, as I mentioned, but there's so much more on the technology side. Not only website development, but distribution of services. A lot of that is done out of the region. Accounting services, just so many other things that we don't think about as tourism, but tourism doesn't work without them.
Yes, that's for sure. I try to, especially when I have conversations with young people, to say, listen, even if you're a doctor, you can be part of this industry.
Exactly. Engineers,
medical tourism is
architects,
yes.
so
environmentalists, you know, all these different areas, agriculture.
Correct.
All of the linkages. And I know you're a part of the Linkages
Yes,
Council
I
as well. But you're chair of the Gastronomy Network.
Correct.
And I want to move on to talk a little bit about that. What is this Gastronomy Network all about anyway?
So, as you know, our Minister of Tourism, Ed Bartlett, is very passionate about the passion points of tourism, of which one is gastronomy. So, when we set up, the Tourism Linkages Network was set up originally under the previous administration. It had focused on only agriculture and manufacturing. And then when Minister Bartlett came, it was expanded to include gastronomy, sports, knowledge, health and wellness, and shopping.
Yes.
So that was the 5 passion points. So I got the chair of gastronomy. And it's really, how do you take our Jamaican cuisine and use it as a pull factor for getting visitors to come to Jamaica, one, but also when they're here to really experience the country. Gastronomy tourism is a big movement worldwide.
Yes.
Billions of dollars. People travel to experience food and food experiences and go to festivals and farm-to-table experiences. And we weren't really focusing on that previously. It was more when we did our first survey, it came like number 6 or 7 as why would you come to Jamaica. So it wasn't a top reason for travel.
Not a pull.
But we always thought, Jamaican food, everybody want to come here for that. But they were coming for other things. Because they didn't really know what we had. So we spent a lot of energy working with the Jamaica Tourist Board and our team members, bringing in foodies, influencers, media that looked and, letting them experience all of Jamaica. We created new events, the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival,
Yes.
the Culinary Trail. We supported other events like the Jamaica Food and Drink Festival, Table Talk Awards, Obey.
And of course, Devon House became
our first gastronomy center. And it was really now just letting the market know that Jamaica has something to offer and a lot to offer. We started to encourage training and development of culinarians, recipe writing, how to do food photography, various seminars in different things, and just really showcasing the whole aspect of gastronomy because we have an authentic story to tell.
Yes.
We say out of many one people, but we're out of many one food. And we have a unique cuisine and we have hit the world stage. Yes, everybody knows jerk, but
yes, but there's so much more.
Keep telling everybody that 50 years ago, you had to go all the way to Portland to get jerk. It wasn't all over Jamaica as it is now or all over the world. So what else do we have that needs to be discovered, to be popularized and made known? So it's not just traditional Jamaican cuisine. What's the new Jamaican cuisine? And that's what we want to do. We want to create that next level of Jamaican cuisine that's going to take the world by storm, still embracing all that we have already and showcasing that, but taking us to the next level. And so when you go into a restaurant now in Jamaica, instead of you have 5 pages of international cuisine and you have a little section that says Jamaican specialties.
Yes.
You'll have 20 pages of Jamaican dishes and then you'll have a section that says international. So that's my aim.
Yes. And I believe you're well supported through the JCTI with their accreditation program for culinarians and persons at another level.
And also through the Culinary Federation of Jamaica, through the Taste of Jamaica competition, which is to use local ingredients and create new recipes and push the fact that we have something special. Carolyn McDonald-Riley, as you mentioned, through linkages, and I went to Thailand and we went to San Sebastian, Spain, which are 2 strong gastronomy centers. And when we saw what they were doing there, we brought back a lot of that knowledge and shared it and put it in some of the programs that we have implemented. But there's still more to come. And you can have a Michelin star restaurant in Jamaica and you can have a street food because in Thailand there's a Michelin star street food vendor.
All right.
So we can look to other places in the world that have really used their cuisine to showcase their country and improve upon what we're doing here, raise the bar, not only for ourselves, because of course we want to have good food for ourselves.
Yes, that's a given.
First and foremost.
Yes.
And even now you're seeing a lot more people are eating out, and our palate has changed. We are more experimental, and that's where we want us to go.
I saw someone doing curried oxtail. I think it must have been on the social media, and saying, "Come over and taste your curried." I've never had oxtail curried.
No.
And I've curried so many things, from
Exactly.
curried beef to curried mango to, all kinds of curry. But I never had
Curried oxtail, and
so-
that's a new Jamaican cuisine right there.
So we're expanding, and it's such an exciting area. I'm passionate about the food part. I try not to have too much of it because
Well,
it
we have a
shows.
great vegan culture, ITAL cuisine.
Yes.
Now the world is all about plant-based cuisine, and we
Yes.
were doing that long time.
Yes, yes.
So we haven't even pushed that out to the world in a real way as
Yes.
yet. We have talked about having an ITAL food festival, and there is some conversation along that line. But there is just so much that we do in Jamaica that we don't even realize we do.
And it's so interesting how that links back to your health and wellness as well, So, it's exciting. We're going to have to wrap up, but I have just maybe 2 more questions for you, Nicola Madden Greig. Do you have a pet peeve? And if so, what is that?
I would say that one thing I always have a problem with is not being what I would call working at your own initiative. For people that for me drives me crazy. You must, sometimes you hear this, you need to be motivated. But to me, self-motivation is critical. And when you have to have that drive and that say to yourself that it doesn't matter if I don't get the training, if I want to succeed in life, it's all up to me. So,
Yes.
yeah.
As I would say to my son, if it is to be, it is up to me.
Lovely.
Yes.
And I love that quote. I will steal it.
And finally, what inspires Nicola Madden Greig?
I think I'm just passionate about celebrating everything Jamaican. That's something that really drives me. I do have a lot of national pride. I wear my flag very proudly and boldly whenever I travel, anywhere I go. Just wanting to be the best person I can be from that point of view. And I think having the family that I had and growing up in that environment drove me to want to accomplish more. Yes. And not for selfish reasons, just to do it for doing its sake, but to do it because I think as Caribbean people, as people of from the African diaspora, of African descent, we have so much potential, and sometimes we forget how talented and wonderful we are made. And we need to recognize that nothing is impossible. We can be a first world country if we so desire. And I think we have everything in place to do it. It's just a matter of discipline ourselves and focus.
Yes. And I did say finally, but if I may be allowed one more finally, you've served some very important people in this year alone at your properties.
Yes.
Give us some quick insights.
Well, this year was a very exciting one. I mean, over the years, I've had many heads of states, royals, including the late Queen Elizabeth. And this year, I had the pleasure of meeting Kate and William, the heir apparent. Yes. We also had the president of India as well as of Rwanda at the Jamaica Pegasus. So it was a whole host of activities. I've met and served many senior CEOs of many companies, celebrities, you name it, I've done it, and the protocol required to do that. And it's interesting because, there are people just like you and me, and some are very down to earth and easy, or amazed how easily, you interact with them. And when you're younger and just coming up in the business, it's like everybody's all the way up there and it's fair.
Yes.
But as you get older, you realize that, people are people.
Yes.
And respect is due at any level. So I've enjoyed interacting with some very interesting people in life.
Nicola Madden Greig, respect. That's how we end it on today's edition of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. It has been my pleasure having you as my special guest, and we'll be back. So see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letusknow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCoJA. I'm Marlene Stevenson Daly. See you soon.